Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 196. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join on the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Right, Moose? Right. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, share, subscriptions, comments, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today, topics. We're talking video games today for this episode. Let's kick it off with a game that I actually just beat on stream not too long ago, as of recording this week. I want to talk about Crash Bandicoot 4. I know it's a little bit old. Well, a little old. It literally came out 3 years ago? 2 years ago? I'm a little delayed on my response, like everything. But I had a fun time with it, so I kind of want to talk about my experience with Crash 4, my experience as a whole with the Crash Bandicoot series, and yeah, just chat about that for a little bit. So, we did beat it on stream, like I said, as of recording last week. Had a blast with it. It's the normal chaos of Crash Bandicoot in at least the platformer games, where timing is everything. Controls are wonky. Some things go your way, some things don't. And it's just that rage in the best way possible that builds up when you're trying to overcome these obstacles of getting through the levels, hopefully without dying and breaking all these stupid crates. Had a blast with Crash 4. It had this timeline of like the different universes or timelines crossing over, which obviously seems to be the hit with everything now is multi-universe, the stuff like that. But I had a fun time with it. You get to have the opportunity to play as different characters too. You can swap to Coco at any point and play as her. But then later on, you get the opportunity to play as even other characters from the character history, I guess, of the franchise. So you get to play as Dingodile. You get to play as Tawna, which I believe is like the main lady you're saving in the first game. I apologize, I don't know. And then you even get to play as Dr. Neo Cortex. And each of those characters, bring a little bit of different gameplay to the table. Nothing, I would say, astronomical in terms of, that was really fun. But you have to tackle each of the platforming levels a little bit different, whether it's their jump speed or movement abilities or attacks, whatever it is. You got to adjust to those. And they allow you to play different levels just focused on those characters. That's like, this is what's happening with this character at the same time the main quest is going on. Which I thought that was pretty cool that they threw those in there at least, kind of spice it up instead of just, the normal Crash Bandicoot stuff, as there's been quite a few of those games over the years. But Toys for Bob and Activision crushed it with this one. It was a lot of fun. My experience with Crash isn't too in-depth. If you watched 2 episodes ago, where we talked about my top favorite 100 games, yes, there was a bunch of them that I forgot. I'm even thinking of another one right now that I think I shouted it out. Spyro, but that's a different tale of it. But I talked about a story about playing games on the PS1 at my uncle's, him not having a memory card and having to restart pretty much every time we went over there. But Crash Bandicoot 1 was another one that we played quite a bit when we went over there, and I was awful at it at the time. I don't think I made it really, really far. If I made it into the second kind of stage or platform, maybe the second or third world, or however you want to call it, I think it was probably the farthest I had gotten at that time. With the eventual Crash Insane trilogy that I believe also Toys for Bob did. Definitely Activision, obviously. But when that came out, that was my first time diving back into that fully and playing that all the way through. And sorry, Moose is exploring. You coming up? You gonna say hi? I know. That was my first time playing through the entire game and seeing at least the depth of what you could do in there, of obviously you want the break as all the boxes. That's going to be getting a check mark. You could do the time and the speed trials, and there's the hidden gems or the completion gems. I don't recall what they were in the first one. But seeing that was like, oh, I can see how this is a totally another level just besides the... it sounds awful, but the hair ripping out in the normal levels. I remember there were some bridge levels in Crash 1. I think the Long Road was one of them, was entitled. That one always frustrated a lot of people, myself included. But when that trilogy came out, that remaster, that was the first time I played entirely through the first one. And I haven't dipped my toes into the second or third installments, so I have no experience there. I think the only other Crash experience I had before jumping into 4 was not Crash Team Racing. I didn't play that first one, but Crash Bash I played a lot, enjoyed that. That was like the Mario Party kind of spin-off like title. And then I played a bunch on PlayStation 2 of Crash Nitro Racing? Crash Team Nitro Racing? Yeah, I think it's that one. That one was a lot of fun. I know they did a remaster of both the original Racer and that for more current consoles. Played a little bit of that remaster as well. Didn't hit as exact nostalgia, maybe just because I was on the initial CTR stuff compared to the Nitro. But overall, that was my experience with Crash. The other one was, I believe, a Game Boy Advance game where they did a little Spyro Crash, like they swapped universes and were dealing with each other's problems. So jumping into this one, I don't know. I don't know if it was just a lack of, like, I haven't played a platformer in quite some time, but I was really intrigued to jump into it. We jumped into it first over Extra Life. I thought it was something that would be engaging enough over that overnight span that would keep me going, keep me paying attention, and not, or help wane off the tiredness that I was going to experience there. So we jumped into it there. We had a lot of fun with it. Got stuck at a level or two here. That's just in terms of like die, repeat, die, repeat, die, repeat. But we had fun with that. So I was amped to jump back into it and play through the story at least fully on stream after that. And yeah, like I said, it was just a lot of fun, just the panic moments. I will say I have no idea how anyone 100% or platinums these types of games. We alluded to the speed trials earlier. Like, obviously the first few levels, you know, you can see how it's done, or you can figure it out. Like, I think we at least did that for the first worlds. We attempted the speed runs. We did get the highest or the fastest medal or relic, as they're called, for maybe one or two of the levels. But that aspect, and then the 100% or getting all of the boxes, I don't know how people do it farther in the game, especially those later levels. It's absolutely insane. Kudos to you guys if you are doing that to finish these games. That requires a lot of patience. And I know there's probably people who are like, well, Bret, you did that with Neon White. Like, you didn't platinum it, but you certainly, you know, got all of the times needed for the base game, and then went from there to get that, at least the campaign and the story mode in that finished. And that's true. I don't know if it's just one of those things like putting the time into it and then going from there, if that would work. It's just, if you watch the live stream, you could see there were certain moments of like me hitting that wall of frustration. And I don't know, once again, if it's just the moment of like, all right, walk away, come back to it, something like that. But yeah, it's just impressive to think, well, impressive in a way, insane in another way to think, oh my God, there's all these requirements. Not really, but things you can do or try and chase after in terms of unlockables, which also, I will say with Crash 4, I did appreciate the return of unlockables. And what I mean by the return is just not a lot of games have those now, or at least it seems definitively less than in the past. Just with, you know, obviously the rise of DLC, developers are going to put it more into that, because obviously more money for their team, their studio, their projects, and that's how they can do the unlockables or make the cosmetics that we want instead of putting it behind a task or objective based in the game. Still, they're there. It's just not as prevalent, or doesn't feel as prevalent. And Crash 4 has a lot of those. They have a lot of skins that you can unlock for either Crash or Coco as you're going through. I don't think they had any for the side characters, but that was a nice little surprise. They're all locked to this gem system. So there's 6 gems per level, 3 for getting like a certain amount of the Wumpa fruit, one for getting all of the boxes, one for doing it the level in under 3 deaths, and then one for the speed run. No, sorry, there's a hidden gem. There's a hidden gem somewhere in all of them. So you have that 6. If you get all 6, then you can unlock a costume for your character. So not too bad, not awful. But another thing that helps also is eventually in the game you get the inverted levels, which is the same level, but it's mirrored. So you don't go like back to front, but if you were going to take a right turn, you'll take a left turn, so on. Excuse me. So they add that. So they add another layer of depth to the game of like things you can do, which is appreciated, but also they added gems to that as well. I believe it's the same requirements, it's just now it's the other level. And with a combination of those, as long as you get any 6, then you can get the costume. So that's kind of nice, especially, excuse me, when you do get into the harder levels. If you don't feel like you can do the 100 boxes, or in my case, the under 3 deaths, if you want to mix and match, you're still able to get those skins or those costumes for your characters without it feeling super impossible. Obviously, some levels are going to still be more challenging than others, but at least they provide a little bit more of an opportunity for players to earn those things instead of just being like, well, it's there, I'm never going to get it. So that was nice, once again, because technically more levels to play, more content to do, and then having that objective to work towards, which, as we talked about, there seems to be a lot. Whether it's these gems, whether it's the costumes, whether it's the speed trials, whatever it may be. There's a lot to chase after for beyond just the base story and game that they are presenting at the beginning. There's a lot to do if you decide and choose to do that. I don't know if personally I'll be taking the time to do it. I may still jump around in there a little bit, just kind of, challenge myself with some things. But as I mentioned, the platinum, I do not think this is a game that I will ever platinum trophy. That would require a lot of patience, especially with the time trials. Who knows? But I highly doubt it. I feel like there was something else I wanted to shout out. Okay. Well, let's talk about the story. So, story's great. Simple, but fun, entertaining, short, not too bad. I think we took 3 streams to do it, so probably 8-9 hours. And for the most part, like I said, you get to those later levels and you realize, oh, there's a difficulty, raise here, which you would assume that's how it should be. Kind of the nice little slope up towards the end of the game. For some reason, that second to last level, holy shit, there is a spike in difficulty beyond belief. The whole gameplay, or the whole time in the story with the timelines that you're jumping around, there's these masks that you're saving. There's 4 different masks that add another level to the platforming aspect where they change, or rather add a mechanic to the game, which is nice. Keeps it fresh, keeps it exciting. So there's 4 masks. There's one that allows you to invert, or rather phase things into reality. So there may be boxes or platforms that are highlighted in this like misty blue that are transparent. If you use the mask, those become solid. Other ones will become the transparent items. You can flip them back and forth. All right, not too bad. Second one you get, you have like a power spin that allows you to glide a little bit as you're jumping, and you can destroy some harder objects or tougher enemies. Great. Third one is a time one. Slow down time. Not too much really you could do there. And the last one is inverted, where you swap the gravity of which way it goes, and you can either walk on the ceiling or you got to slingshot yourself around obstacles. All of those fun to play around with, and towards the end of the game, they start mixing multiple masks into levels. And at this difficulty spike of the second to last level, you have to quickly swap the masks. Like, they're floating objects, you go grab them, and the Crash puts them on, or whatever character you're playing as puts them on, and you have those abilities. You have to like trigger your brain to be like, okay, I have this mask on, I gotta do this for like a stretch of like sequential actions in order to finish it. And man, oh man, it was insane. I know a lot of people, if they went back and watched how many times I died, I think it was 86 in total. God damn. Some people are like, what? You're joking me. No, it was disgusting. There was a lot of stupid mistakes, for sure. I believe around the 50th life, I was like, all right, this is the run. This is the one I'm going to make it. I could see the end. I got to the last part. You got to do a little bit of a gravity swap. I swapped it, didn't realize there were lasers on the top, didn't revert it, whoosh, went right into that. If I just swapped it, I would have been at the end of the level and I would have called it a day. But it was fun. I can't say it wasn't not frustrating, because it was. But it was a good time overall, just that chaos that there was. And that's what these games bring. But yeah, it's just insane. Once again, going back to the time trial thing, thinking like, how do people do this? Especially a level like that. I get it. Repetitions, practice. You know where all the boxes are. You know where all the enemies are going to be, the timing of things. Maybe that's it. It's just rep, repeat. Similar to any other game. We talked about Neon White earlier, learning those things. You could akin it to a Hades, like once you kind of figure out what boons and powers you're going after, that process of defeating Hades himself isn't that big of a deal compared to your first run. It's just one of those things, I guess, where the more you play it, the more experience you as a player obviously get, and the easier the experience is going to be for you. But outside looking in, man, oh man, looks nuts. But yeah, I had a great time with Crash 4. Jumping back into it, it actually kind of makes me want to go back to the Insane Trilogy. Maybe dive through those 3 games. Obviously replaying the first one and jumping into 2 and 3 for the first time. But once again, I think the Toys for Bob team did a fantastic job here, and they've done a lot of good projects, or good jobs with their projects, the remaster work that they've worked on. And it's unfortunate Activision's kind of sucked them in and be like, you're not doing that anymore, Call of Duty stuff. Who knows if with the Microsoft acquisition, if that will change. I hope it does, but obviously time will tell there. So yeah, just wanted to gush about that a little bit, about my experience, and a good time we had.